and welcome to another Palettes I Wish Existed video. This is also known as fantasy palettes. For those of you who may be unfamiliar with this concept, this is something I started doing about 3 years ago, where I create concepts for mostly new eyeshadow palettes. Sometimes it's other makeup, but mostly it's eyeshadows. Sometimes it's brand specific, such as this video, and other times it is just general concepts, just dreams and hopes and wishes. So the usual disclaimer as I start all of these videos with, this isn't real. This is what I call fan art or fan fiction for makeup. If you don't like it, that's cool. I won't be offended. I would love to hear your thoughts, what you would create instead, or what kind of tweaks you would make. This is just for fun. It is such a fun creative exercise, and I highly recommend everybody do it because it really can challenge you. It can help you think about different concepts and color stories and pairings that you like. Maybe it might even encourage you to shop your stash and use what you already have in a new way. There's a lot that can be done with eyeshadow especially, so this batch of fantasy palettes is inspired by e.l.f. and the e.l.f. bite-sized palettes. I'm really fond of these. I have a bunch of them. They retail for about $3 US. They're 4 shadows, so for those of you unfamiliar, this is what they look like. They're tiny little palettes. There's 4 shadows in each of these little sets. So this, for example, is cream and sugar, so there's a bunch of different color stories, and I just like how easy and convenient these are, and I've been able to create some really interesting looks just because I'm not overwhelmed by too much. Sometimes with a larger palette, so even 15 shadows or more, it's easy to get overwhelmed and not really know what you want to do. With this, it's like 4 shadows, what are you gonna do? This is all you got. So I've had a lot of fun playing with them, and I had a lot of fun creating these fantasy palettes. Currently there are 8 palettes in their lineup, and I've created 8 more, and they more or less play off of the names of the already existing bite-sized palettes. The first palette is Dark Roast. There is a rich matte brown, a deep bronzy shimmer, a dark golden shimmer, and a cool medium brown matte. So I wanted this to give kind of coffee shop vibes. I wanted it to be sultry and easy to use. So either like a shimmery shade on the lid, deepen with the matte colors. So it could be something very simple or dramatic depending on how you play with it, but I feel like it gives options in that little 4 shadow color story. The next palette is Mint Water. So this is inspired by, well, mint water. There is a satin mint, a sparkling mint, a shimmery white, and a deep matte peacock blue. So I've always really liked like a white inner corner that faded out into mint. Mint is one of my absolute all-time favorite colors. So you could always deepen like the outer corner with that peacock blue shade, or think of like a halo eye with the blue in the inner and outer corner, and then the shimmery matte shade sandwiched in between, or even using like the sparkling white shade in between and like maybe a mint inner corner. I feel like this is such a simple classic color story, and I think it would be really fun to play with, and I want to find a matte peacock blue eyeshadow because I was looking through my collection and I was like, I don't have anything that's like quite like this. I have to see what I can like doctor to come up because I really want to create that sort of dream look, because I don't even have a sparkling mint, so I'm gonna have to like DIY something. The third palette is Fruit Salad. So I wanted something fun and cheerful and colorful with just a few shades. So there is a cheery yellow satin, a muted pear, a matte rose, and a matte grape. So like strong wing liner and like a pop of color on the inner corner or the lower lash line. I really like how that looks. You can put them all together and do something really colorful, and even do like a throwback to the 80s with some different color placements. Like if you watched my I did a makeup tutorial based off of a book I have, which is Looks from 1989, and I'm going to be continuing that series, by the way. But there's a lot of fun color placements, and one of the looks I did had the sort of pink under the brow bone, and I just think it's really interesting to play with color in different ways, and I feel like this would be a really fun, easy way to do it without too many colors interrupting that sort of creative flow, which is at least what I experience. Plus, I think it could pair with a lot of other things as well, so it wouldn't just have to be used on its own, but it could pair with a bunch of like other neutral things. Next is lemon meringue. I think the inspiration's probably pretty obvious. So there is a matte white, a shimmery yellow, a shimmery mustard, and a deep matte brown. I wanted a twist on typical golden hues. Like, I didn't want it to be just like a standard yellow gold. I just wanted something a little bit different. I really like how shimmery yellow reflects the light and actually just kind of makes me think of sunlight. And most of the time mustard shades are matte. So I wanted a mustard that was a little bit more sparkly so that you could get a little bit of shimmer, because I really love that mustard shade on the lid, but I just wanted something a little bit different. Plus, think about pairing like the pink rose shade from like the fruit salad palette with like some of the shimmery yellow, and that always makes me think of like pink lemonade, so I think they could pair pretty well together. And I think that it could be like a very simple, like maybe the white inner corner with the sparkling yellow, and then like the deep brown outer corner, just a really simple gradient. Like an all over dark brown smoky eye with the mustard highlight, like an inner corner or like the inner third. I think a matte white is underrated as a highlight shade, and I feel like it can really just add something a little bit different, just a tiny like dab of white to like lighten that inner corner, or just use as the brow bone shade instead of something that's really like sparkly or blinding. I hope I'm not going through these too quickly. Next is Dragon's Breath. So it's inspired by the pepper of the same name. I wanted it to be spicy. So a satin red, a matte orange, a metallic orange, and a dark forest green. I wanted it to look fun, but also frightening. Because I feel like on the surface, it's like, ooh, that's a fun color story. And then it's like, whoa, what would I do with this? How would this actually work together? But I don't think it would be too challenging. A lot of people would probably do the sparkling orange shade all over their lid with like the matte orange in the crease, or maybe some of the red shadow, mix that together. Have like a focus on like the red and the orange shade. But imagine a cut crease that took advantage of the deep green. It's a deep green, so I feel like it would almost translate to black on the lid, but just a little something different. It's not a black shadow, it is a dark green, and I just feel like that would be really cool as like a really dramatic cut crease. I feel like that would be really cool as a really dramatic cut crease, then like the big false lashes, and I could totally picture that on somebody's Instagram who has a lot of talent. Wouldn't be me, but I can just totally imagine that beautiful kind of cut crease, and I can just see playing with it in different ways, and just even imagine just that dark green shade all over the lid and like really dark and sultry. I just feel like it would be such a fun, unique mini color story. Palette 6 is Perfect Matcha. Don't pretend like that is not totally a name that e.l.f. would use. Inspired by matcha lattes, so there is a matte oyster, a muted chartreuse, a shimmery forest green, and a matte army green. All about greens. So shimmery green on the lid, the chartreuse crease, like dreamy green shadow. I can picture hazy eyes with like blown out, well diffused edges, just like blending really far out, like just really dramatic and dark, like bringing the green really far down and just making it look like a little edgy. I love green eyeshadow, can you tell? So I just think this would be really fun. And you could also use something like Inglot Duraline or some sort of like mixing medium and turn any of the greens into a liner. So I think that that would be cool as well, just like a really simple line, pair it with the winged liner, or just like a simple line of black liner and then like the simple green line on top to just really make a very classic eye. So I feel like it could be really precise and perfect, or it could be really messy, intentionally, just sort of like haphazardly applied, but like you don't care because it's green eyeshadow and it just looks cool. This is probably one of my favorite fantasy palettes that I've ever come up with, and I know it's only 4 shadows, but I just really love this. The 7th palette is Macaron Anon, and it's inspired by the Sweet Treat. I really like looking at displays of them, and I almost went with green again, but then I thought, well, the mint water and the matcha palette were just they hit where I wanted to hit with the greens. So I went a different direction and then I ended up redesigning it. And I went more of a pastel route. So there is a sparkling peach with just a hint of copper, a matte pastel rose, a pastel buttermilk yellow, and a pastel stone blue. So very gentle and soft, like simple one shadow looks, maybe a little liner, lots of mascara, or pairing the sparkling shade with like each pastel. I feel like the sparkling shade would bring something unique out of each one of those pastel shades. And of course, halo eyes for that full macaron effect. Like just that sparkling shade in the middle with the pastel rose shade on either corner would be so sweet. I'm sorry, I'm cheesy, but I just thought that it would be really dreamy and soft, and I wanted to have like a mix of palettes that were more darker and intense and then some that are lighter, because I feel like that's true of the original 8 bite-sized palettes that e.l.f. has. And the final palette, palette number 8, is what I'm calling Jam Jams, and this is very special to me. So Jam Jams are a cookie treat. You have like a sandwich cookie with jam filling in the middle. They're a Newfoundland delicacy. I am half Newfie, so I've spent a lot of Christmases in Newfoundland, and my father loved Jam Jams so much, and they were always like one of those special treats, and like my cousin makes the best Jam Jams, and I have like this such nostalgia for spending so many of my childhood Christmases in Newfoundland, and these are one of those very special sort of holiday treats, especially like all times of the year, yes, but holiday especially is like Jam Jam season. So I have a burnt brick red, a matte muted salmon pink, a sparkling ruby red, and a warm medium toned brown. So the matte shades in the crease, sparkling ruby on the lid, brown outer corner, or the warm brown smoky eye. I feel like this would be a really easy color story for a lot of people to use because they're very safe tones. I just think this would be such a warm, cozy, comforting color story, and I feel like it would look good on practically everybody. I love those warm toned shadows, like a warm brown is just so good. So those are all of my Fantasy e.l.f. bite-sized palettes. Make sure to let me know what you think about these. Are there any of these palettes that you would reach for, and how would you use them? Because I love getting inspiration from other people and how they would pair colors together and like what kind of looks they would create, because that really helps me. It's one of my favorite parts about doing these videos is reading the comments and seeing people describe like their sort of fantasy looks or like what they would do and create with various color stories, and also what would you create for a fantasy bite-sized palette? If you only had 4 shadows to tell your story, what would your prompt be? Like, would you be inspired by a dessert? Would you be inspired by nature? Would you be inspired by some sort of memory or something? I would love to hear from you. Please share your ideas with me if you want to. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day or night wherever you are. Thank you for tuning in to Xelmas. And if you have any other ideas for fantasy palettes, be sure to let me know. If you want to see some general concepts, I will have holiday ones coming a little later in the month, but if you want to see anything else or even like more brand specific ones, let me know as well. So thank you once again, and I hope we get a chance to chat soon. Bye for now.